A little discussion about features and scheduling. This one is a basic schedule. In fact, the only thing custom about it per se is just the total cost value at the end here. And based on my prices, this is pretty inexpensive duct. So first of all, we've got some fields. Family and type, width. These guys are all stock. Total cost came from the calculated value button. If I click on this, you get this dialog box. So I filled in this stuff. If I click edit, I can see what I did. So total cost is set up as my name. I chose common for discipline and currency for the type, and then I supplied a formula. If you click on this button, you can use any of the preset guys here. Makes it a little easier to avoid spelling problems. I've also divided my length by 1 foot in order to impose, rather reduce the unit down to something that can be multiplied against cost. If I didn't do that, and we're going to remove this and try, I get this inconsistent units message. That's an annoyance. Revit's simply just saying, look, you're trying to do something that's strange. You're multiplying a length value times a cost value, and those two units of measure don't play well. Don't understand how to do that. So we're reducing length down to 1, and Revit doesn't seem to mind that as much. Now, from the sorting and grouping standpoint, I'm not really getting into that here. If I wanted to sort by family type so I could get grand totals, I could do that. I was more interested in playing with formatting and getting the total cost set up. So in this case, what I was thinking was rectangular. I'd filter out round duct so that I don't have to deal with the diameter parameter instead. Here's cost. What I've done with these is I've said center alignment for that. For cost, I said right alignment, and I checked calculate totals, so Revit pays a little more attention to it. For field formatting, I chose to override the project settings and use 2 decimal places, which was the project setting, but I also added the unit symbol and the opportunity for digit grouping, so commas or decimals, depending on where you are in the thousands. Same thing for length. I've made it center. I didn't override that much, except to say that I was just going to round length to the nearest inch, so I didn't have to deal with some fractions in the display. And total cost, what I did here was I said, look, same thing, same settings and so forth. And ultimately I'd want to have calculate totals at the bottom of all that. Now if I go back to sorting, grouping, add family and type, get grand totals, then they start to show up at the bottom of the list. I often assume that people understand what seems like basic information really, but obviously unless you've been challenged enough to do it, it maybe isn't basic, maybe it's intimidating. The other question that came up recently was just this task here of combining these and putting a header over the top. So the trick there is to click and drag. If I just click, then Revit thinks I'm trying to edit the field. So you got to click and drag at the same time, and then you can right click and choose group headers. And an interesting quirk, if you go up here where I'm supposed to see the group button, that group button doesn't get hot. I ought to be able to select something, and notice how group woke up at that time. If I do that over here, now it's still awake. So if I go over here, it's not awake, but if I click on it now, it wakes up again. So it doesn't wake up all the time. It should. I find that right-clicking is much more reliable, but now I can place a header over the top of it. So a couple concepts. I created a header over the formulas, or over the columns rather. And I talked about how I created the total cost parameter and messed with the calculated parameter feature. Hope it helps.